No problem at all. So good afternoon, as the case is now. Thanks for coming. So my name's Campbell Hill. I'm the Detective Superintendent in charge of the Serious Organised Crime Branch. I've got two distinctly separate matters to talk to. So we've got one matter from overnight that we'll make a brief appeal for. There's probably not a lot more I can say in addition to the appeal that we'll make, and there's an image that we'll have ready to go for afterwards. So that's quite distinctly separate to the main reason that we've asked you to come through today. So I'll just do a bit of a reset in between. So from overnight, Operation Eclipse detectives are investigating a suspicious fire this morning which caused an estimated $1 million damage. Between about 1:05 and 1:10am this morning, two suspects wearing dark clothing and face coverings attended a group of shops located at Pooraka. Both of the offenders forced their way in through the front doors of the premises and started a fire shortly afterwards, is what we would be alleging. The building was gutted by fire, and as I say, the estimated damage value with that is $1 million. At least one other business in the complex has also been affected by the fire. Detectives are seeking public assistance from people who were driving or walking in the area of Bridge Road and Lincoln Crescent at Pooraka between about midnight and 2 o'clock this morning. Particularly if anybody saw anybody at the shopping complex at that location, or a white Mitsubishi Triton ute with an uncovered tray. So that's a dual cab white Mitsubishi Triton with no canopy or tray covering. The vehicle was used by the suspects at the scene as they drove into a car park that came off of Lincoln Crescent at Pooraka. Early CCTV review has shown that several cars actually drove past the location while the two suspects were loitering, for a better term, outside the premises prior to the break-in and the fire occurring. So we would encourage anybody that was in the area of Bridge Road, Pooraka, between about midnight and 2 o'clock this morning to review any dash cam they may have, or alternatively for people that lived in the vicinity of the location this morning, so that's Bridge Road and Lincoln Crescent at Pooraka. We would encourage and appeal to anyone who lives nearby that may have CCTV that may assist our investigation to contact police. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers online or via the phone number, which is 1800 333 000. There's probably little more I can say on that one, but I'm happy to answer any questions that may arise out of that one.
Just a quick one, and obviously Eclipse's involvement probably says it, but what type of shop was the one that was targeted?
So there's the particular stores in there are a market or a grocery type store, and then there was a barber shop that was there as well. As to the specific target or the motives in relation to it, it's far too early for us to speculate, but the location of the offence and the particular method of the offending this morning has seen it enough that our Operation Eclipse detectives will take it on and investigate it from this point.
Has there been any illicit tobacco, any evidence of illicit tobacco in those shops? No,
there's nothing of that I can speak to today, so quite conclusively there's nothing that we've uncovered or no work that we've been doing in relation to that space this morning, and obviously as part of the investigation we'll explore any relevance that address does have with Eclipse more broadly. For the time being our focus does rest with the arson offence and obviously investigating the suspects for that occurrence this morning.
Are the shop owners cooperating with police?
We've got investigators out there at the moment, so they're working through that to speak to the owners of the property, speak to the store owners. Obviously this is another impact and another example of the impact that organised crime activity can have on people. We've got stores that are in the complex that are affected. It's obviously a concern for local residents as well. So we really want to get on top of it. We want to locate those suspects or the offenders. So I would encourage members of the community, again, if they can, to review any footage that they've got, dash cam or residential, between about 12:30 and 2 o'clock this morning. We would greatly appreciate any help with that. Cool, thank you. All right, so I'll reset. So this second one relates to Operation Endurance. So we'll have some vision. I'll just speak to some points. So again, we've got one matter that's, we've got a matter that's before the court. So obviously there's very little I'll be able to say more than just provide a bit of an update and a bit of information around that. There is an appeal for some information that we do have. We've got a couple of video clips that we'll play at the end, and there's some other imagery that we'll be able to release to assist after that as well. So if everyone's ready to go with that one.
Just avoid tapping the podium.
Yeah, easy done. So this morning, or this afternoon I should say, we're announcing that 3 men have been arrested for arson, aggravated serious criminal trespass, theft and illegal use offences, but we'd also like to appeal for further information in relation to a crime series. So detectives have arrested 3 men in relation to a $3 million arson attack on a Payneham business, which is believed to be linked to serious organised crime offending. Police will allege that about 12:30am on Monday the 12th of January 2026, 3 men broke into a Payneham business premises before starting a fire, causing internal and structural damage to an estimated value of approximately $3 million. Initial investigation by Eastern District detectives into the arson attack resulted in the arrest of a 20-year-old male from Christies Beach on Wednesday the 4th of February this year. He was charged with serious criminal trespass, arson, illegal use and theft of a motor vehicle and theft of petrol. Due to other offending which is believed linked to the Payneham arson offence, Operation Endurance commenced within the Serious Organised Crime Branch in March of 2026. As a result of investigations undertaken by detectives attached to Operation Endurance, on the 25th of March and 24th of June, Operation Endurance detectives arrest 2 males, aged 21 and 43, both of a Christies Downs address. They were arrested in relation to the Payneham offending. They've both been charged with serious criminal trespass, arson, illegal use of a motor vehicle and theft of petrol. The 3 are now before the courts relative to those offences, and for that reason I'm not in a position to say any more about that at this time. We've got an appeal for information because Operation Endurance detectives are continuing to investigate some linked incidents, which include 3 arson attacks on a Malvern car wash and the shooting of a house at Ross Trevor between January and March 2026. Police suspect the following incidents were committed at the direction of serious organised crime figures, and we're seeking assistance from the public to assist in the investigation to identify the suspects involved. So the incidents that we're speaking about are that at about midnight on the 1st of January 2026, an attempted arson was reported at a car wash and cafe on Unley Road at Malvern. On that occasion, a break-in occurred at the cafe and a jerry can was left inside the premises at that time. At 3:55am on the 7th of January this year, 2 suspects broke into the same car wash, doused the inside with an accelerant and set fire to the premises, causing extensive damage. At 2:30am on the 26th of February 2026, a shotgun was discharged at a house in Ross Trevor. A single round was fired and pierced the front of a house, damaging a roller door and destroying a window. The house was occupied at the time, and fortunately no one was injured. At about 1am on the 18th of March this year, a 3rd arson was committed on the Malvern car wash. The fire destroyed the property, with damage estimated at about $500,000. Operation Endurance detectives are continuing investigations into the car wash arson attacks and the shooting, and have today released CCTV and still images in an effort to seek information from the public. The vision is from 2 of the offences in the series. The first video relates to CCTV of the suspects responsible for the offending at the Malvern car wash on the 7th of January this year. The second video shows a vehicle and suspect which was captured on a nearby residential CCTV system at the time of the Ross Trevor shooting on the 26th of February. A photograph obtained by detectives during the investigation has been obtained during the investigation of a person with a firearm. The firearm has some unique distinctive markings or distinctive features of that firearm itself, and our investigators have hopes that someone in the community may have information about the origin or location of that firearm. Detectives are seeking information about the offences, the people or the car involved or captured on the CCTV in relation to the investigation so far. Anybody with information is urged to contact South Australia Police or Crime Stoppers at crimestopperssa.com.au or by calling 1800 333 000. Information can be provided anonymously, and there are measures that can be taken to ensure people are safe, but they can feel safe providing us information that will assist us to identify these suspects for offending that is significant. Happy to take any questions.
Are police concerned that the public is at risk, considering there's been multiple alleged attacks so far?
What I can say in relation to the investigation is that there are significant measures that have been taken to ensure the safety of the community with this particular series. The repeat offending would suggest to us that there is a significant intention, so we don't believe it's random. We believe it was deliberate and targeted. So to that extent, whilst we understand and completely accept that there is community concern that goes with this, and especially in an area that doesn't normally attribute offences to that occurring in that sort of area, we absolutely acknowledge the fact that it causes concern, but in terms of wider community risk, for the arson offences, there is always risk. There's always risk of these sorts of offences. In terms of ongoing risk in relation to the arsons, there's little risk that we see in relation to that. The shooting, however, is a completely different concern in itself.
Is there a particular trade that these are all linked by that you're investigating?
No, there's not really. I suppose the fact that we're linking them indicates that there is. So what I can say on it is that there is a professional business linkage between them. For investigational reasons, I can't go into the direct links behind it. But in the context of providing reassurance that it's not random, there is linkages that we're investigating. We're reasonably confident of the existence of the links, so we are satisfied that these offences are all linked together. There are reasons that we won't disclose at the moment, but in the scheme of things, they're not random. They are absolutely being viewed as deliberate and targeted. So
can you disclose the motive?
At this stage, the motive is being explored. As I said, we certainly suspect that this is offending being done at the behest of established serious organised crime figures. It's an inherent risk when we've got people, and we are seeing trends of this spoken about nationally and internationally as well. There are inherent risks to this type of activity where people are acting not necessarily on their own motivations or their own advances and causes, and that's where we can see that extreme risk to community, and that causes us great concern. Things like the shooting occurring, and nationally there have been other instances that we're sadly very aware of where unintended victims of these sorts of offences are impacted. So it's our motivation obviously to identify the suspects in relation to this particular series. Again, as to the motive behind it, again, for investigational reasons, we can't disclose that at this stage. We are investigating several lines of inquiry, and we are reasonably sure that we have information pointing us in the right direction. So our appeal today is really to try and bridge a few of those gaps as we work through it.
Could this be linked to the illicit tobacco and the overlaps between endurance and Eclipse?
No, there's no information we've got that this links in with Eclipse at the moment. So I'm very confident to say that this is not Eclipse related. That being said, the ecosystem of organised crime, we find more and more that the entities and motivations of people within organised crime have blended a lot more than maybe what we've seen traditionally in terms of certain groups or certain entities working for their own motivations. So, as I say, we are confident that we're working on the right track. We are definitely at a point that we need help from community to bridge a few of the gaps that we've got in the investigation to progress it.
Is it related to outlaw motorcycle gangs?
Again, it relates to serious organised crime groups. There, as I was saying, the ecosystem, to use the term, of serious organised crime inevitably includes people from different groups. There has been part of our investigation with the focus on outlaw motorcycle groups, and it would be remiss for me not to acknowledge that fact. But I suppose what I would say is that we are not working on tunnel vision, and we're very open to that there might be motivators and other involved actors that might be from areas outside. So again, we'd be really reluctant to put it down to one particular group within the organised crime environment, and that's where our appeal for community information may assist us to really refine our focus on who we need to be looking at.
How would that when you say that there's, you suspect that there's one person giving out these orders, is it one person or is it multiple people, and are they based in South Australia or interstate? Or overseas? There's
probably a lot to unpack in that question. I think what we understand more broadly is that there can be an appetite, and I suppose, again, I'd need to emphasise that we suspect that's the case here. More often than not, we're very attuned to what's happening nationally, and we stay in touch with our jurisdictional partners around things that are being experienced interstate and even overseas. I suppose what I would say is that we attune our mind to the fact that these people might have been paid remotely, which means that they don't know who they're working for, and it doesn't ultimately mean that they know what they're getting involved for. People that get involved in this type of offending, and it is significant offending, they're really putting themselves out on a limb, and their idiocy extends to the point that if they think they're going to get paid particularly well and looked after by people that are established within serious organised crime, they really need to rethink it, because you can guarantee that they're not going to have any hospital bills looked after, they're not going to have legal bills. If they're working for people that are anonymous, there's no guarantee of payment. So there really is there's an element of this where organised crime exploits the vulnerabilities of certain people in community, and that's a real concern for us too, whether it's juveniles, whether it's people, again, with a history of criminality, and as has been seen on occasion, not specific for this particular matter here, but there are people that haven't had as much contact with police that do get involved in these anecdotally. So there's multiple levels that go into it, but I think as much as we would warn caution for those who elect to get involved and undertake these sorts of acts on behalf of other people, very much our warning goes to people involved in organised crime that are causing these offences. that in the current climate, it is very hard to insulate yourself from the actions that are happening, and our investigators are working really hard and staying up to date with technology and methodology that we can work through to establish who is giving out the orders. And that's our ultimate aim, is to understand what the motivators are behind the offending, who's instigating it, and our investigations will progress as far as we can to get those people and hold them to account.
Are the orders that is it this person is giving these orders and they've given the orders to make, or suspected of giving all of these incidents that you believe are connected, or is there's an order been given and then there's retaliation?
There's probably, we're probably heading massively into speculation territory there, so it's probably a hard one that I can't comment on specifically for this. I think, to be really clear in relation to this investigation, we're keeping a really open mind that the people that are involved as the suspects, so again, to be clear and not prejudice any matters before the courts at the moment, in terms of the people and the suspects that we're looking for the offending that we're talking about today, being the car wash and the shooting at Ross Trevor, we are keeping an open mind as to the fact that they may have been contracted, for a better term, by organised crime entities. It may be the case that they could be directly related or part of that group. So our appeal is to the fact that we aren't making any assumptions. We're keeping a really open mind. It could well be part of people in the group, but we are also very aware that in the current climate, there's speculation around people being contracted for these jobs. So, yeah, we're keeping a very open mind, and again, our appeal for the community and our appeal for people in community that have either heard rumours or spoken to people that may have talked about these things, talked about the offences that they've committed. We'd be really keen to speak to them to understand and bridge a few of those gaps.
Are the owners and operators of the car wash cooperating?
Our investigators are working with the impacted parties of all of these offences, and again, going back to the impacts that organised crime offending such as arsons and shootings have on people, there can be extremely serious ramifications where mistakes are made and unintended victims become involved. That said, if people are being targeted by organised crime figures, there is still a very high risk to them. So we're working very closely with them. Our investigators have got several measures in place to support them through their process. But more widely in relation to this, we're talking about people's businesses, we're talking about people's employment that have been impacted as a result. We've got people that haven't been able to work as a result of these businesses that have been significantly impacted and destroyed. So the reaches and the concern, and again going down to the general community concern when these sorts of offences occur, we're really well attuned to that, and we work to everyone in relation to that.
And again, can you just describe again, because we're kind of flying blind here, the relationship between this, the car wash arsons and the shooting with the Payneham Road fire? What's the linkage?
So again, the Payneham Road fire, given that's before the court, I can't really say a lot of that because those matters are before the court. What I can say is that the investigation that the Operation Endurance detectives have done so far, we are satisfied that the instances that we've got are linked. So there are aspects of the investigation which indicate to us that they are linked, and as a result of that, we've obviously announced the arrest for the 3 males in relation to the Payneham arson. That matter remains before the court, and our appeal now is to establish the identity of the suspects involved in these offences for which nobody's been charged at this point.
Are those arrests, could they be the same people that are already in custody?
Oh look, nothing's impossible, and I suppose that's where we're at in terms of the investigation. We've had enough evidence to charge the 3 for the Payneham matter. Whether they're involved in this and not, the evidence and where we're at the investigation, we're at a point that we need to appeal for that community information, that community assistance to bridge some of those evidential gaps that we have before we can make any further arrests.
Do you assume you're looking for a lot more people though than potentially 3?
Well, this is the reality of it, is it could very much be that the 3 people we've got for one offence may be completely different to others. So we're talking about offences that occurred over a number of weeks between those 3 months at the early part of this year. There's nothing to say that it isn't different offenders, and that's very much part of our appeal for information, and we treat this as a very fresh appeal for information because we really are attuned, and as I say, we really keep an open mind to the reality that this could be separate offenders, and whilst the offences in themselves are linked and our investigators and detectives are satisfied of the linkage that exists behind the offences, we are really keeping an open mind to the reality that these suspects involved could be very different people.
I understand we reported the Payneham Road business as an accounting firm. Now we've got a car wash. What kind of underbelly do we have here in Adelaide?
I'd be really reluctant to sort of lean into any speculation in that context. I think the reality is we have business owners. We have a business complex at Payneham that was actually the centre for a number of different people that worked at that address. So I think we would really need to be careful, and I'd be very reluctant to draw any nexus or any label in relation to the victims at the moment. We understand that there's linkage between the businesses in a professional capacity, is what I'm very comfortable to say. Also very comfortable and very clear to say that the business premises destroyed at Payneham back in January were a professional complex housing a number of different professional business entities and people. So there was a lot of other innocent people caught up in this as well. And we're, again, when I go back to those basics, we are exploring the linkages and we're exploring the motives behind it. So still very early for us and probably immature in the scheme of things in an investigation sense to speculate to those matters. So I think for now we would be comfortable to say that we've got victims of these offences. We've got some significant values attached to businesses, significant disruption, significant community concern, but we've got some very motivated detectives and we're looking for some very helpful community members.
How complex is an investigation like this from an investigative standpoint when you have a series of crimes and investigating those links?
I mean, they are complex by nature, and I suppose it's the nature of those types of investigations that the Serious Organised Crime Branch takes them on and works with them. So rarely are they a quick investigation, but we've got very motivated, skilled detectives working on it. I suppose with the desire to, keep people in the upper echelons of the criminality involved a little bit nervous. It's very hard to commit crime in the current climate without leaving some sort of footprint, be it a digital footprint or forensic footprint. So there's a lot of other things that we're working on as part of the investigation. This is really tip of the iceberg in terms of what we're releasing today. I suppose the reassurance we want to give people that might have information is the fact that we are well progressed on an investigation. We've had 3 arrested in relation to some offending, which again gives some reinforcement to the commitment that we've got, given it was about 6 months ago now. The investigation is going to continue. We'll keep working through it. But for those people who have information and are unsure, or if they're unsure whether it's relevant or not, we would very much rather hear from them and make an assessment and see how it fits in with what we do have, as opposed to people making the assumption that it's not relevant. And we see that time after time with investigations. We would much rather hear from people and finalise things and rule things out than simply not hear about things that could be significantly valuable for us.
Do police believe that this crime series, so to speak, is the last of it in this series, or are you guys bracing for more?
I think the way I'd answer that question would be, for the series that I've spoken about and for the offences that we're investigating, this is the totality of this series at the moment. So as to other offending or other involvement that people may have in other offending, as we see time after time, these people will pop up, for other matters in due course, I suppose. But in the wider context, and to go back to your question, for the focus of Operation Endurance, it relies on the Payneham offending, the Ross Trevor offending and the Malvern offending.
Thank you. Campbell, you might not know, but is Serious and Organised Crime Branch involved in the, there's been a spate of ATM thefts up in the northern suburbs overnight and also last week. A total of 5 premises have had ATMs stolen or attempted. Is that something your branch is involved in? No, it's not a matter for us. We're aware of it, and we obviously have, through the nature of our work, we have linkage within industry and Hotels Association and that area of it. But for the time being, those matters lie with the regions and the districts responsible for the investigations. But we are aware of them. We work to support as we need to. But at this point in time, serious organised crime isn't involved in the ATM investigations. We've got some footage that we might go to now, and again, I'm open to any questions that might come out of that. So if we could play that first one, please. So that footage related to 7th of January offending.
No, the stills will just release. If we could just go to the vision of the car and the suspect for Ross Trevor.
That wasn't, I know it was targeted, but there was no like case of mistaken identity.
No, it hit again. We're comfortable with the linkage that exists with the Ross Trevor offending to the other offending that we're investigating. So I suppose in answer to that question, on this occasion they did get the right address, but in every way, it's the middle of the night. It's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. We've got a shotgun round being fired through a window. So people are at their most vulnerable. It's gutless offending at the end of the day. It has high impact, but it's gutless offending. The unintended consequences of whoever's on the other side of the window is not known to the people involved. So it carries with it inherent risk and inherent concern. And it drives the dedication of the investigators to get those responsible.
And that shotgun, could you just see?
No, so the shotgun, we're still investigating. So this is really where our appeal for information is. So we haven't seized any firearms in relation to it during the investigation. If you want to go to the photo of the gun, Jade. During the investigation, I suppose the investigators have come across this image of a firearm. There's not a lot more I can say about the origins of it, but our appeal again is, given it's unique, you can see that there's some unique markings on the stock, either a sticky tape or that lighter sort of sticker mark. There's obviously what looks like an elasticized stock holder for shotgun cartridges or shotgun shells as well. So we're hoping that people in the community may have knowledge or information of that they can come forward to us. Now that could be, and again, to speculate quite heavily, if it's a stolen firearm, it may be a firearms owner that had their firearm stolen, and we may get a start point there. It could be somebody that's been hunting with a friend and seen a similar firearm. It might be someone in the criminal community that knows that they've got a firearm there, or it may be someone that's been asked to have some involvement with the firearm, either burying it, storing it, or some other part, along the way with it. And our appeal would be to come forward and speak to us about that, because we would much rather build the bigger picture and have that information and work through legal matters that exist there than not know about it. It's obviously a great risk. I suppose, to be very clear, we're not saying that this is the gun involved, but during the investigation into this series, this is a photograph of a shotgun that's arisen in an offence that we've got a shotgun that's been used. So it would be remiss for us not to place some emphasis on trying to find out what the provenance and the location of that firearm. It's another gun that we'd be really keen to get off the street.
Just in that last CCTV of the footage we were looking at the street, can you just describe what we're looking at there? Yeah,
sure. So that's CCTV that was seized from a residential property near the shooting. For obvious reasons, we won't release where the shooting occurred, but it was in Ross Trevor back in 26th of February this year. So what the shooting depicts is a car that we're yet to identify driving through back streets of Ross Trevor. That the vision that we've released and the vision we're releasing today shows the vehicle making its way through. Shortly after, an unidentified suspect runs with what appears to be a long arm or a shotgun or a rifle along the footpaths of some houses in that street and goes out of vision. Shortly after, within a minute or two, that person is then seen running back in the direction of the car, running down the middle of the road with, again, what appears and what we suspect is a long arm. So we're reasonably satisfied that that's the suspect for the shooting from the 26th of February. So again, we'd be very keen to speak to people in Ross Trevor. We know it was a really windy night that night, and noises and things like that might have been a bit of an issue for us. But again, 26th of February, about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, we'd be really interested from anyone that might have been woken up, had any involvement or awareness of anyone that was making their way through that area.
There is, the suspects of the car wash looked quite young. Are you confident they are just taking orders from someone?
Well, again, we're keeping a really open mind. So we're not closed off to assuming that these are people that are involved in criminal groups. I think traditionally we've seen that a lot of the offending that was undertaken by people within a hierarchy of a criminal group, or was done as a motivator to progress within a group or impress those that they needed to impress to further their own interests. In the current climate, we are aware of what is happening jurisdictionally. We know that crime can be influenced by, external influences and things of that nature. We are keeping a very open mind that the people that are involved may have been doing it at the request or the offer of payment from people that they have no linkage or involvement with. And again, the cautionary tale that we really offer for that, for anybody that's approached or has, if they've got friends talking about an offer of money to commit these sorts of offences, they are gutless, they are unlikely to be paid what they're promised to be paid, they could find themselves facing lengthy periods in prison, and these are from, to use the very loose term, employers or contractors who are not going to pay their legal bills or hospital bills. And as we've seen in the vision from the 7th of January, the offender on that occasion was lucky not to set themselves on fire as they go running away with a smouldering and flaming shoe. So, it's unsophisticated offending. It's almost disorganised crime to a degree when we're looking at the nature of some of these offences. And it's that type of offending that really poses that significant risk for community. And that's what causes us real concern outside of the obvious with these things happening. The more we're learning and the more we see about how these things are undertaken, there is a real amateur level to them. They've got significant impacts, and for the people that are involved that we are going after and we are arresting and putting before the courts, they are really putting themselves at a whim for people that have no loyalty or allegiance to them. So it is a changing nature. It doesn't change the seriousness, and it doesn't change the fact that we'll keep investigating and that we'll keep going after them.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, team.
Bring it in.
Good video, Joel.